Okay, so welcome to another episode of the Frankly Fukuyama podcast. I'm really delighted today to have two colleagues talking about a recent article that they wrote in America for the Persuasion on patrimonialism. So this is actually a topic that they've been involved in for some time. They wrote a very good book a while ago called The Assault on the State: How the Global Attack on Modern Government Endangers Our Future. This is a book I really liked a lot because I actually think that having a modern state is really critical to development, to prosperity, to good government, and it really has come under attack. So Steve Hansen and Jeff Kopstein are both professors, political science professors. Steve teaches at William and Mary, and Jeff teaches at UC Irvine, and they're here to discuss the state as a family business under the Trump administration. So let's just begin. Steve and Jeff, to talk about the term patrimonialism. It's not something that comes to the lips of everybody. I mean, the Trump second administration has been denounced as a lot of things, as fascist, as authoritarian, and so forth. But patrimonialism is a different take on, what they are doing to American government. So could you just explain what patrimonialism is and why that's an important way of thinking about, what's going on now? And you have to
Yep.
fight it out which one of you responds.
Go for it, Steve.
I'll go ahead and get us started, and typically Jeff will finish my sentences by now. So patrimonialism obviously comes from a great sociological tradition, the great German sociologist Max Weber, who wrote about this, way back in the end of the 19th, early 20th century. And it is a problem because it's a 7-syllable word. So, for punditry, we really should have shortened it somehow. But the essence of patrimonialism is precisely what we need to understand Trump. And that is the notion of the father, patrimonialism. It's the rule of the father over the entire state. So the government, in effect, becomes a reflection of the father's personality. And everyone in the household of the father is somehow invited to participate in the running of the state as a family business, as we say in this piece and in other things we've written. What makes that distinct is that in the modern era that we now live in, with high tech and globalization and Zoom meetings like this, we never really thought you could have rule over the state by fathers of the nation in this form. We thought it was an older form of government. Weber argued it was the oldest form of government that ever existed, and in many ways that's still correct. But what we're seeing now is that even in a place like the United States of America, which is incredibly educated and sophisticated, you can still attract a remarkably broad base of people who like the idea that government should be run by the person who's the all-wise kind of representative of the family that is America. Of course, it has terrible consequences for governance.
Yeah, I'll just throw in on top of that in order to understand what patrimonialism, you have to understand what came after it. What came after it, as Frank, you said right at the beginning, the kind of modern impersonal form of government. What do we mean by impersonal? Let's just use the most obvious example. When you go to the Department of Motor Vehicles, nobody looks at Fukuyama and says, Fukuyama, don't like that name very much. Don't think I'm going to give you that. I knew your dad. I'm not going to give you the license today. I'm treated when I go in to the Department of Motor Vehicles or for any other government agency like a number. And I like to be treated like a number. I want to be treated impersonally. We hire on the basis of merit. We hire, and our government is administered impersonally, not with reference to either the leader or to the people who are receiving those services or to the people who are being regulated. And what's really remarkable, none of us on this phone call, on this Zoom thought that we would ever see, and I don't think Weber viewed it as possible either, a return to this much older form of government. And that's sort of what we're seeing in real time, not just in the United States, but in other countries in the world.
Yeah, that's quite remarkable. So why don't you give some concrete examples of the patrimonialist nature of the current administration in Washington?
Yeah, you start, Jeff.
Well, I mean, at the most basic, you have, this went back to the first Trump administration. You had family members actually without any official positions fulfilling, or sometimes, or some quasi-official positions, fulfilling multiple roles within government, right? And even in this current administration, the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor are the same person, right? Marco Rubio. Of course, Jared Kushner, who has no official position within the government, as a kind of a roving personal representative of the Trump family household. And he's actually seen as that. But of course, you also have sort of an insider economy within the United States now. People who have personal access or favor with the president get outsized government contracts. You know, the list is easy to name. You got, Larry Ellison with TikTok. Peter Thiel has his, Palantir has had a jump in contracts in the third quarter. Third quarter revenues jumped by 52% in 2025. Tim Cook at Apple, NVIDIA, the chip maker, was in a widely seen pay for play kind of stunt, was allowed to export the H200 chips to China in return for a 25% fee, right? There's always corruption in all governments, but now it's sort of open, and we haven't even begun to measure the crypto gains that the Trump family household has gotten. The Center for American Progress, on one article I read in preparation for this podcast, estimates it's $1.8 billion in kind of revenue to the Trump clan, right? From crypto gains and gifts. At this point, it's tempting to say grifts, but it's gifts. And so you have what's quite interesting about this. In the United States, in order to do that, you not only needed to have these kind of insider beneficiaries, but you actually had to deconstruct the existing